The Amazon rainforest is often called the lungs of the earth, but to those who venture beneath its endless canopy, it is something far more mysterious. Hidden within its vast wilderness are stories that blur the line between reality and legend, tales passed down through generations of shamans, explorers, and local tribes. For centuries, people have spoken of spirits that haunt the trees, rivers that shimmer with unearthly power, and ancient ruins that seem to vanish as quickly as they appear. These are not just stories meant to entertain. They are warnings, whispers of a world that refuses to give up its secrets. Tonight, we journey deep into the Amazon, into the heart of darkness, where the air is thick with mystery and the jungle seems alive with unseen eyes. From ghostly cries that echo through the night to legendary lost cities of gold, we will uncover the spine-chilling legends and unexplained encounters that make this jungle one of the most enigmatic places on Earth. So, sit back, keep the lights low, and prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown. The shadow in the Amazon canopy. High above the endless green sea of the Amazon, the canopy stretches like a roof woven by the gods themselves. To the explorer, it is both shelter and prison, concealing creatures never seen by the outside world. For centuries, locals whispered of something moving there. Not a bird, not a monkey, but a presence far older, far darker. They called it La Sombra del Dosel, the shadow in the canopy. It began with a story told by an elder of the Takuna tribe. He recalled a time when hunters entered the jungle during a moonless night, following the sounds of rustling branches far above. They never returned. In the morning, their weapons were found scattered on the forest floor, but no bodies. The villagers said they had been taken upward, swallowed by the shadow that moves silently among the leaves. Expeditions into this part of the forest always carried unease. Birds would suddenly fall silent. Even the insects seemed reluctant to make noise. It was as though the jungle itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to pass. Explorers wrote about feeling watched, though no eyes could be seen. One described it as the sense of standing in a cathedral when you know the priest is near but unseen. In 1927, a rubber baron named Esteban Garcia organized a group of 30 men to cut deeper into uncharted land, chasing wealth. They mocked the legends, calling them superstitions meant to scare outsiders. For weeks they hacked their way forward, until one night Esteban himself vanished. His hammock was found swinging gently as though he had just risen. No tracks led away from camp. Only a single mark remained, deep scratches carved into a nearby tree, higher than any man could reach. The men abandoned the expedition, fleeing in silence, too terrified to speak. Esteban was never seen again. Modern accounts tell a similar tale. Scientists setting up canopy research platforms reported strange movements above them, shadows sliding through the leaves, too large and too fluid for any known animal. One researcher described hearing a low hum, like a deep vibration in his chest, followed by a sudden gust of wind, though the air was still. His colleague swore he saw a massive silhouette stretching across the canopy, blotting out the stars. Drones have been sent to capture footage, but their batteries fail unexpectedly when flying over certain sections of the forest. The footage, when recovered, shows nothing unusual, except for one chilling frame where the trees themselves appear to bend inward, as though pulled toward an unseen presence. Local shamans insist the shadow is no ordinary creature. They say it is the soul of the forest itself, angered by those who cut too deep, take too much, or enter without respect. They describe it as a guardian that chooses when to be seen. It does not kill for hunger, one elder explained. It kills for balance. Tourists sometimes scoff until they spend a night in the canopy lodges built for adventure seekers. Guides quietly admit that at times their guests vanish without trace. The official explanation is that they wandered off. But the guides know better. They have heard the heavy silence, felt the sudden drop in temperature, and glimpsed, just for an instant, a black shape passing above, blotting out the moon. One chilling account comes from an American backpacker in the 1990s. She and her group camped near the canopy platforms laughing at the old legends. That night she woke to hear branches shifting high above, moving in a pattern too deliberate for wind. Something vast seemed to circle overhead. Suddenly a scream tore through the night. One of her friends was gone, his hammock empty. They searched with flashlights, finding nothing but a torn strap dangling from the trees. The group fled, stumbling through the dark until dawn. The missing man was never found. She swore she would never return to South America again. And yet, for every story of horror, there is another of awe. Some who claim to have seen the shadow describe not fear, but reverence. They say it moves like smoke given form, immense but graceful, vanishing the moment one tries to focus. It leaves behind no tracks, no sound, only the feeling of being judged by something older than mankind. One shaman told a visiting anthropologist, "You see it only if the forest wants you to. If you see it twice, you do not come back." Today, the shadow in the canopy remains one of the Amazon's most enduring mysteries. Is it a lost species? Some massive predator unknown to science? Or is it something else? A spirit? A guardian? A manifestation of the jungle's will? The forest is vast, and humanity has mapped only fragments of its secrets. Perhaps the shadow is not a story at all, but a reminder. The Amazon does not give up its mysteries easily, and those who enter must tread with humility, or risk being taken into the canopy never to be seen again. The whispering trees. Deep inside the Amazon, far beyond the well-worn paths of hunters and explorers, there are places the locals refuse to go. These are not areas marked by danger from jaguars or venomous snakes. Instead, they are avoided for reasons far stranger. One such place is known among the tribes as Los Árboles Susurrantes, the whispering trees. The first stories describe travelers who became lost while hunting. They spoke of trees that seemed to lean closer together the deeper one went, as if the forest itself were guiding or trapping them. At night, when the air cooled and the jungle grew still, the hunters swore they heard voices. Not animal calls, not the sound of wind, but human whispers. The voices were low, urgent, and always just beyond understanding. The hunters returned pale, refusing ever to enter those groves again. A missionary in the 1800s recorded his own unsettling encounter. He wrote in his diary of wandering too far from camp one evening, drawn by the sound of what he thought was prayer. He followed the murmurs through the trees, convinced he was about to discover a hidden gathering of villagers. Instead, he found nothing but towering trunks, their roots twisting like frozen serpents. The voices grew louder until he felt surrounded. Terrified, he fled back to camp, but claimed that even there he could still hear whispers at the edge of his hearing. His companions dismissed it as exhaustion. The missionary himself insisted until his death that he had been spoken to by the forest. Modern accounts have been no less chilling. In the 1960s, a team of geologists entered an uncharted section of the Amazon while surveying for minerals. On their third night, several men reported strange dreams. They heard chanting in their sleep, and one awoke screaming, claiming that the trees were bending toward him. The following morning, the leader of the expedition was gone. His tent was still zipped from the inside. His boots, pack, and compass were untouched. All that remained was a single journal page pinned to a root outside his tent. Written in his hand, it read, "They want me to join them." His body was never recovered. Scientists who have studied the phenomenon suggest it may be natural. The Amazon canopy creates unique acoustics, and shifting air currents can turn distant sounds into eerie whispers. Others argue that the whispers are caused by insects moving in hollow trunks, producing faint murmurs in the night. But these explanations fail to account for why so many who hear the voices report them as words, sometimes even in their own language. Local shamans have their own interpretation. They believe the whispering trees are a bridge between the living and the dead. The voices are not hallucinations, but spirits trapped in the roots, reaching out to the living. Some shamans warn never to answer the whispers, for to do so is to invite the forest to claim you. Others say the whispers can guide those who show respect, leading them out of danger. "The forest speaks to all," one elder said, "but it chooses who will understand." One chilling story tells of a group of backpackers in the 1990s. They ventured deep into the jungle despite warnings, determined to debunk the legend. On the second night, one of them claimed she heard her mother's voice calling her name from the trees. Another insisted he heard children laughing in the darkness. The group argued, each hearing something different, until panic set in. They decided to leave immediately, but one member, drawn by the sound of his late father's voice, wandered into the trees and was never seen again. The survivors staggered back to civilization, shaken and silent. Perhaps the most disturbing detail comes from those who escape. Many describe how the whispers follow them for days, even weeks, after leaving the forest. The voices are faint, but persistent, like an echo lodged in the mind. Some report hearing their own names whispered in quiet rooms at night. A few have claimed that the voices grew louder over time, driving them into paranoia and madness. To this day, locals avoid the area. Tour guides refuse to take visitors there, insisting that some places are not meant for human curiosity. A few adventurous researchers have tried to map the grove, but their equipment fails. Recordings capture only static. Compasses spin without direction. And when night falls, even the bravest admit to feeling watched by something vast, hidden in the roots and branches. The mystery of the whispering trees remains unsolved. Are they a natural trick of sound, magnified by fear and folklore? Or are they something far older, a voice from the jungle itself, reminding us that the Amazon is not silent and never has been? Those who return from the grove say the same thing. The whispers are not random, they are calling. The forest is speaking. The only question is, who will listen? The River of Faces. The Amazon is a place of endless rivers, arteries of water that snake through the heart of the rainforest. To the untrained eye, they all seem alike. Muddy, wide, filled with fish and lined with green walls of jungle. But hidden among them is a legend whispered by tribes and feared by travelers. El Río de las Caras, the River of Faces. The first reports came from Spanish explorers in the 1600s. They claimed to see strange shapes beneath the surface of a tributary. At first they thought it was schools of fish. But when the moonlight struck the water, they saw human faces staring up at them, men, women, even children, floating just below the rippling surface. Some swore the faces were smiling. Others said they looked anguished, their mouths opening and closing as though screaming underwater. The frightened explorers quickly abandoned their camp. Yet one man, drawn by both curiosity and horror, returned to the river alone. His body was later found on the shore, his face locked in an expression of terror, his eyes wide open and mouth twisted. No wound, no struggle, just a man who looked as though he had drowned in pure fear. For centuries, indigenous people warned against entering that stretch of river. According to their law, the water is cursed, inhabited by the souls of those who drowned in the jungle. Unlike normal spirits, these do not depart to the afterlife. Instead, they remain trapped in the river, their faces forever rising to the surface, begging for release. A missionary in the 19th century described his own encounter. He wrote that while crossing the river at dusk, he saw a reflection of his own face in the water. But it was not his reflection. It was older, more withered, with eyes that seemed alive. Startled, he looked up, but no one else had noticed. When he looked back down, the face was gone. That night, he dreamt of himself drowning, his face becoming one more in the endless river. In the 20th century, reports became more chilling. Rubber tappers working deep in the jungle told of hearing voices when they filled their buckets from the water. At first it was faint, like the sound of rushing current. Then it grew louder, pleas, whispers, even their own names being called. A few men went mad, refusing to drink, and claiming that the river was calling them to join the others. One of the most detailed accounts came from a group of researchers in the 1970s. They set up cameras to capture any strange activity. For 2 days, nothing happened. On the third night, one man awoke screaming, insisting that dozens of faces were pressed against the surface of the river, staring directly at him. The others rushed to check but saw nothing. Yet when they reviewed their camera footage, the frames were filled with blurred shapes, indistinct but hauntingly human. Terrified, they abandoned their study. Locals believe the river is a boundary between the living and the dead. Shamans say that those who see the faces have been chosen, marked by the spirits of the drowned. If they resist, they may be haunted for the rest of their lives. If they accept, they risk being pulled beneath the surface, claimed by the river forever. Modern scientists dismiss the legend, suggesting optical illusions, reflections of moonlight, or the movement of fish. But no scientific theory explains why so many people report hearing voices, or why those who stare into the river often vanish without a trace. One chilling tale is told of a tourist in the early 2000s. He had heard the stories but laughed them off as superstition. Standing at the river's edge, he leaned over and taunted, "Show me your faces." His companions recall that the water rippled violently, though no wind blew. That night, the man vanished from camp. His footprints led back to the riverbank, where they stopped abruptly. His body was never recovered, but in the days that followed, his friends swore they saw his face staring up from the water, eyes wide with terror, mouth silently screaming. Those who live near the cursed waters have a saying, "The river remembers." They believe it is not simply filled with trapped souls, but that it hungers for more. The more one resists its pull, the stronger it becomes. To this day, the River of Faces remains a forbidden place. Even adventurous guides refuse to take outsiders there, and those who have seen it in person carry the memory for life. The water that moves without current, the whispers at night, and the undeniable sense that dozens of unseen eyes are watching from below. The Amazon holds many mysteries, but few as chilling as this. For if the legends are true, then every drowned soul still lingers in that cursed water, waiting, staring, begging for someone to look down, and never look away. The Lost City of Z. For centuries, whispers have traveled through the dense green heart of the Amazon about a city unlike any other. A city of immense stone walls, temples that reached toward the sky, streets paved with white stone, and riches that could rival the treasures of the Incas. To the indigenous tribes, it was known only through song and story. To explorers, it became an obsession. They called it the Lost City of Z. The most famous seeker of this phantom city was Colonel Percy Fawcett, a British explorer who dedicated his life to uncovering the mysteries of the Amazon. Fawcett was no ordinary adventurer. By the early 20th century, he had already mapped vast regions of South America, battled disease, and survived encounters with hostile tribes. Yet he remained unsatisfied. He believed there was something hidden, something greater than anything the Western world had yet seen. Fawcett came across an old document in the National Library of Rio de Janeiro, written by a 16th-century Portuguese explorer. The manuscript spoke of a city deep within the jungle, filled with stone towers and a civilization of great sophistication. To Fawcett, this was no myth. It was proof that advanced societies had once thrived in the Amazon, their ruins swallowed by centuries of rainforest growth. In 1925, Fawcett set out on what would become his most legendary and final expedition. Accompanied by his son Jack and Jack's friend Raleigh Rimmel, he plunged into the unforgiving depths of Mato Grosso, Brazil. His letters, written before he vanished, spoke of strange encounters, tribes who spoke of cities of gold, rivers that glowed in the moonlight, and vast stone structures hidden beneath vines. Then silence. The world waited for news. Months passed, then years. No word ever came back. Some believed Fawcett and his companions were killed by hostile tribes. Others thought they succumbed to disease, starvation, or the merciless jungle itself. Yet rumors persisted that they had found Z and perhaps chosen never to return. The disappearance of Fawcett sparked an obsession that continues today. Over the decades, hundreds of expeditions have tried to retrace his steps. Some, met tragic ends, their bones later discovered in remote corners of the rainforest. Others returned with tantalizing stories, pottery shards, geometric earthworks, and strange mounds that suggested the presence of ancient cities long forgotten. In recent years, archaeologists using satellite imagery and LiDAR technology have uncovered evidence that may vindicate Fawcett's dream. Beneath the canopy of the Amazon lie vast networks of roads, plazas, and settlements, proof that the jungle once housed civilizations capable of supporting tens of thousands of people. Far from being an untouched wilderness, it may have been home to flourishing societies that rivaled those of the Old World. Yet, the lost city of Z itself remains elusive. No single ruin has matched Fawcett's description of towering stone structures and monumental avenues. Some argue that Z was not a literal city but a vision, a symbol of lost knowledge, a civilization wiped out by disease and conquest, leaving only whispers behind. Others cling to the belief that somewhere, still hidden beneath vines and roots, lies the fabled city, waiting to be rediscovered. Legends among the tribes add fuel to the mystery. Some tell of a city cursed by the gods, swallowed by the jungle because of its arrogance. Others describe it as a sanctuary, protected by spirits who ensure outsiders never leave alive. Hunters speak of hearing voices in the forest, of seeing stone walls where none should be, only to find nothing when they return. There are even more chilling rumors that Fawcett himself became part of the myth. Some claim he found Z and chose to remain, ruling as a god among a hidden tribe. Others whisper that his soul now guards the path, warning those who dare to seek the forbidden city. The allure of Z endures because it represents more than a lost ruin. It is a mirror of human longing, the search for discovery, the hunger for answers, the hope that somewhere out there lies proof that the past is far richer than we imagine. Whether Z is real or imagined, it has already claimed countless lives and inspired generations of dreamers. Even today, modern explorers venture into the jungle with GPS and drones, but the rainforest keeps its secrets well. Dense foliage hides the earth, venomous creatures stalk the ground, and rivers shift like serpents. Perhaps Z lies just a few miles from where someone has already walked, hidden beneath centuries of green. Or perhaps it is something else entirely, not a city of stone, but a memory, a vision that calls to those willing to risk everything. Like the shimmering mirages of the desert, Z may be the Amazon's ultimate trick, always just out of reach, always luring, always devouring those who dare to chase it. The lost city of Z is more than a legend. It is a test, a riddle set by the rainforest itself. And those who seek it must ask themselves, are they searching for ruins, or are they searching for themselves? The Curupira, guardian of the Amazon. In the endless green maze of the Amazon rainforest, where the air hums with the cries of unseen creatures and the shadows shift with every rustle of leaves, there exists a legend known to nearly every tribe. They whisper of a spirit, both protector and trickster, a being who walks among the trees with fiery red hair and feet that point backward. His name is Curupira, the guardian of the Amazon. Unlike many spirits born from fear, Curupira is a paradox. He is both terrifying and revered, a protector of nature who punishes those who would harm the jungle, yet also a playful trickster who enjoys confusing hunters and travelers. His backward feet are his most chilling trait. To those who track him, his footprints lead deeper into the forest, but in truth, they are being led in circles, drawn ever closer to danger. For centuries, stories of Curupira have spread among tribes and settlers alike. The indigenous people describe him as small in stature, almost childlike in appearance, but with strength far greater than his size would suggest. Hunters, who kill more animals than they need, loggers who cut trees without respect, and wanderers who mock the forest's spirits often vanish without a trace. Many believe Curupira is the one who takes them. One of the most enduring stories tells of a hunter who, greedy for trophies, killed dozens of animals in a single day. He laughed as he skinned them, boasting of the riches he would gain. That night, he heard laughter in the darkness, high-pitched, mischievous, yet strangely chilling. When he awoke, he found himself lost. His footprints led nowhere, his sense of direction spun endlessly, and the sound of giggling followed him like a shadow. He was never seen again. Another tale speaks of woodcutters who sought to clear a patch of forest for profit. Despite the warnings of local tribes, they hacked down ancient trees. At dawn the next day, their camp was gone, vanished, as though it had never existed. Only a single tree remained, untouched, and upon its bark were strange symbols resembling backward footprints. Yet Curupira is not purely vengeful. Some stories describe him as a benevolent guardian, rewarding those who respect the balance of the forest. A fisherman who took only what his family could eat once claimed that Curupira appeared before him, placing rare fruits in his basket as a gift. Parents sometimes told their children that if they honored the jungle, Curupira would watch over them, keeping jaguars and snakes at bay. There is also the trickster side of Curupira, mischievous, almost playful. Travelers often speak of being lured by strange sounds, a baby crying, a familiar voice calling, or laughter that seems to come from everywhere at once. They follow, only to find themselves hopelessly lost. Some escape by chance, stumbling upon their village days later, exhausted and delirious. Others vanish forever. What makes Curupira especially terrifying is his unpredictability. He cannot be bought, and he cannot be reasoned with. To some, he appears as a protector, to others, a punisher. Even seasoned hunters cross themselves before entering the forest, muttering prayers or leaving small offerings of food, hoping to appease him. The backward feet are the detail that haunts outsiders most. Loggers and explorers have reported finding trails of prints in the mud, tiny but deliberate, pointing in impossible directions. Those who follow them end up deeper in the jungle, sometimes circling the same spot for hours, other times stumbling into swamps or nests of venomous creatures. The tracks are always fresh, as if Curupira is never far away. Some anthropologists believe Curupira was invented as a cultural safeguard, an embodiment of the rainforest's natural laws. His stories were a way to teach respect, to ensure that people did not take more than they needed. But for those who live in the Amazon, Curupira is more than myth. He is as real as the jaguar, as present as the rivers, as constant as the hum of insects at night. In modern Brazil, the legend of Curupira continues. He is a figure in children's tales, a warning told to reckless adventurers, and a symbol of environmental protection. Some even see him as the Amazon's ancient spirit of justice, punishing those who exploit the land without care. To activists, Curupira embodies the idea that the forest itself fights back. Yet beyond folklore and symbolism, countless testimonies keep the legend alive. Travelers have reported hearing disembodied laughter, seeing flashes of red hair darting between trees, or stumbling upon trails of backward footprints that lead to nowhere. Scientists dismiss these as tricks of the mind in the overwhelming vastness of the jungle. But the locals nod knowingly. Because in the Amazon, survival is not just about endurance, it is about respect. The forest is alive, aware, and watching. And at its heart, Curupira waits, deciding who may pass and who will vanish into green eternity. The next time you hear laughter in the jungle, soft and mocking, take care. It may not be human. It may be the guardian himself, reminding you that the Amazon belongs to no one but those who honor it. The Encantados, dolphin spirits of the Amazon deep, within the winding rivers of the Amazon, where the waters shimmer silver under the moonlight, there lies a legend that is both enchanting and unsettling. The locals call them Encantados, mystical river dolphins that can transform into humans. Beautiful, seductive, and otherworldly, these beings dwell between two realms, the world of humans and the mysterious depths of the river. The Amazon river dolphin, or boto, is a curious creature in itself. With its long beak, pinkish hue, and playful nature, it is unlike any other dolphin in the world. But to the people who have lived along the riverbanks for centuries, the boto is not merely an animal. It is a spirit, a shapeshifter capable of walking among men, bringing both wonder and danger. According to the tales, the Encantados emerge most often at night, especially during the full moon. They rise from the waters in a whirl of mist, shedding their dolphin skins to reveal tall, strikingly handsome men or beautiful women. Their eyes shine with an unearthly light, their charm irresistible. Villagers say no one can refuse an Encantado's invitation to dance or sing, for their voices carry the pull of the river itself. But there is always a telltale sign. Even in human form, the Encantados often wear wide-brimmed hats. Beneath them, it is said, lie the hidden remnants of their true nature, the small blowholes of a dolphin, marks of the world they cannot fully escape. Many stories revolve around their fascination with human celebrations. During festivals, Encantados slip unnoticed among the people. They dance, drink, and charm unsuspecting villagers. Some tell of brides or grooms vanishing on their wedding night, lured away by these spirits. Others speak of children born with mysterious fathers, said to be the offspring of Encantados who seduced young women. One of the most haunting tales comes from a village near the Rio Negro. A young woman named Yara was renowned for her beauty, but also for her caution. She knew the stories of the Encantados and vowed never to be deceived. One midsummer night, during a festival by the water, a stranger appeared. He was tall, elegant, with eyes like molten gold. He wore a white hat and seemed to know every song, every step of the dance. Though wary, Yara felt herself drawn to him. His laughter was like music, and his touch sent shivers through her. As the night deepened, he invited her to walk with him by the river. Villagers later recalled seeing them disappear into the mist. Yara was never seen again. Some whispered she had drowned, but others insisted she had been taken into the underwater kingdom of the Encantados, a place of eternal music and light hidden beneath the currents. The belief in these dolphin spirits is so strong that even today, some communities treat river dolphins with great reverence. To harm or kill a boto is considered taboo, an invitation to misfortune. Fishermen tell of nets torn apart at night, boats overturned, or strange music drifting across the water when the Encantados are angered. Yet for all their danger, Encantados are not always malevolent. Some are seen as protectors of the rivers, guardians of the delicate balance between humans and nature. Elders teach that respecting the river and its creatures will keep the Encantados benevolent. But disrespect, greed, or cruelty will earn their wrath. Modern encounters continue to fuel the legend. In remote towns along the Amazon, young women sometimes give birth to children whose fathers are unknown. Families, rather than facing shame, often attribute the paternity to an Encantado. The river chose her, they say, and her child carries its spirit. Anthropologists suggest these stories serve cultural and social purposes, explaining disappearances, sudden pregnancies, or the dangers of the river. But to those who live near the water, these are not allegories. They are truths, as real as the flowing current. Fishermen still leave offerings on the banks before casting their nets, murmuring prayers that the Encantados will grant them safe passage. There are even reports from modern explorers, accounts of strange melodies echoing across the river at night, of figures in white seen vanishing into the mist, of glowing eyes just beneath the surface. Rational minds dismiss them as tricks of sound, reflection, or imagination in the vast jungle. But for those who have grown up under the moonlit shimmer of the Amazon's rivers, the explanation is simple. The Encantados are near. In the end, the legend of the Encantados embodies the allure and danger of the Amazon itself. Beautiful, captivating, and mysterious, the river gives life but also claims it. Just as one can be entranced by its beauty and lose their way, so too can one be lured by the spirits of the boto, vanishing into their watery realm forever. So, when the night is clear and the moon turns the river silver, beware the laughter carried on the wind. If a stranger approaches, elegant and smiling beneath a wide-brimmed hat, think twice before following. For beneath the charm may lie the call of the river, and once you answer, you may never return. The Mapinguari, the Amazon's monster guardian. Deep within the endless green expanse of the Amazon rainforest, where the canopy is so thick that daylight barely touches the ground, lurks a creature whispered about in fear and awe. The Mapinguari. Some call it the guardian of the forest, others a cursed being that should never be encountered. Whatever the truth, its legend has terrified and fascinated generations of people who live along the riverbanks and within the jungle's shadow. The Mapinguari is often described as a towering beast, standing over 7 feet tall, with shaggy red or black fur, massive claws, and a stench so overpowering that it can make a person faint before they even see it. Some say it has one eye in the center of its forehead. Others insist it has 2. But the detail most often repeated is its mouth, a gaping, vertical opening that runs across its belly, lined with sharp teeth. This grotesque feature makes the creature unforgettable, a monster seemingly born of nightmares. According to the tales of the Amazonian tribes, the Mapinguari was not always a monster. Long ago, it was a powerful shaman, a man who sought eternal life through forbidden magic. For daring to meddle with forces beyond human reach, he was cursed, transformed into a beast, doomed to roam the forest for eternity. His purpose? To protect the rainforest from those who would harm it. Thus, he became both a cautionary tale and a supernatural guardian. The creature is said to wander the jungle, appearing when trees are cut down recklessly, or when hunters kill more animals than they need. Witnesses claim it emerges from the shadows, roaring like thunder, its voice echoing through the trees. Animals scatter, and even the bravest hunters drop their weapons and flee. The Mapinguari does not kill indiscriminately. It punishes those who disrespect the forest. One chilling story comes from a group of rubber tappers in the late 19th century. As they worked deep in the jungle, they began to hear heavy footsteps approaching. The ground trembled, and an unbearable stench filled the air. Out of the trees stepped the Mapinguari. Its fur was matted, its claws long as machetes, and when it opened its belly mouth, the men screamed in horror. They fled, abandoning their tools. Days later, when they returned cautiously, they found their camp destroyed and the trees around it clawed and torn as if by a giant beast. None of them dared to cut rubber in that area again. In other accounts, the Mapinguari seems to possess supernatural abilities. Some say bullets cannot pierce its hide, as if it is armored by the forest itself. Others claim its cry has the power to paralyze anyone who hears it, leaving them helpless before the beast. A few hunters tell of being spared after begging forgiveness for harming the jungle, suggesting that the Mapinguari has a sense of justice as well as fury. Modern scientists sometimes speculate that the legend could be based on memories of extinct animals, such as the giant ground sloth, which once roamed South America. These massive creatures, covered in thick fur, could stand upright and use their claws to tear vegetation. Perhaps, some suggest, the Mapinguari is a distorted cultural memory of these beasts passed down through centuries of storytelling. Yet, for the people of the Amazon, the Mapinguari is far more than a fossilized echo. They speak of recent encounters, hunters who vanished after hearing strange cries, travelers who stumbled upon huge footprints in the mud, and families who swore their villages were visited by the beast when they cut down too much forest. One of the most striking modern tales comes from the 1970s, when a Brazilian soldier reportedly encountered the creature during a jungle mission. He described a massive, hairy figure with long claws and a nauseating odor. Terrified, he and his men opened fire, but the bullets seemed to have no effect. The beast bellowed and vanished into the dense foliage, leaving behind only broken branches and a trail of foul stench. To this day, the soldier maintained his story, though skeptics dismissed it as jungle hallucinations. The legend of the Mapinguari also carries a deeper cultural message. In many ways, it embodies the rainforest itself, vast, mysterious, and unforgiving to those who exploit it. The curse of the shaman-turned-monster serves as a reminder of the consequences of arrogance and greed, while the beast's role as protector highlights the sacred relationship between humans and the natural world. Even today, some communities leave offerings at the edges of the jungle, tobacco, food, or simple prayers, asking the Mapinguari for permission to hunt or harvest. These rituals are not just superstition, they are acts of respect, acknowledgments that the forest is alive, powerful, and guarded by forces beyond human comprehension. For outsiders, the Mapinguari might be dismissed as myth, a product of fear and imagination born in the isolation of the jungle. But for those who live within the Amazon's vast embrace, the creature is as real as the river, the trees, and the storms. They know the forest hides many mysteries, and the Mapinguari may be one of them. So when the night falls heavy and the jungle comes alive with sounds, chirps, growls, rustles, remember that one of those sounds might be something more. If the air suddenly reeks of decay, if the silence is broken by a thunderous roar, do not linger. The Mapinguari, the eternal guardian of the Amazon, may be near, watching, waiting, and reminding all who enter that the jungle is not theirs to claim. The Lost City of Z, explorer Percy Fawcett's Amazon obsession. In the early 20th century, few places on Earth remained as unexplored and mysterious as the Amazon rainforest. For Colonel Percy Harrison Fawcett, a British explorer with nerves of steel and a heart filled with curiosity, the jungle was more than just uncharted territory. It was the stage for his greatest obsession. He believed, with unwavering conviction, that hidden deep within the green labyrinth lay an advanced ancient city, a place he called simply Z. The legend of a lost civilization in the Amazon was not new. For centuries, rumors persisted of towering stone structures, streets paved with gold, and tribes far more advanced than Europeans had ever encountered in South America. Spanish conquistadors whispered of El Dorado, but Fawcett dismissed the exaggerations of gold. Instead, he believed Z was a city of sophistication, culture, and knowledge, proof that the Amazon had once been home to a flourishing civilization that rivaled those of Egypt or Mesopotamia. Fawcett's fascination began after studying old Portuguese manuscripts. One in particular, the manuscript 512, described ruins of a great city with arches, statues, and hieroglyphics deep within Brazil's Mato Grosso region. Many dismissed the account as fantasy, but Fawcett saw truth in it. To him, the Amazon was not an empty wilderness, but a place where history still breathed beneath the vines. In 1925, Percy Fawcett embarked on what would be his most daring and fateful expedition. Accompanied by his son Jack and Jack's best friend Raleigh Rimmel, he set off into the dense Brazilian jungle. Before leaving, he wrote letters to his family and sponsors, expressing his confidence that he would succeed. He warned, however, that if he did not return, no rescue missions should be sent, for the jungle was unforgiving. The journey was grueling. The men hacked their way through choking vines, endured swarms of mosquitoes, and fought against sickness, hunger, and exhaustion. They crossed rivers teeming with piranhas and trekked past tribes whose intentions they could not always predict. Yet, Fawcett remained resolute. His journal entries from the trip reveal an almost mystical faith in the existence of Z. Then, as suddenly as they had entered the jungle, the three men vanished. No trace of them was ever found. Some believed they were killed by hostile tribes, others suggested they died from starvation or disease, but many, especially Fawcett's admirers, clung to the hope that he had indeed found Z and chosen to remain there, living among its people. The disappearance of Percy Fawcett became one of the greatest mysteries of exploration. Over the following decades, dozens of expeditions set out to find him, or his remains. Many never returned, swallowed by the very jungle they sought to conquer. Some explorers claim to have heard stories from tribes of a tall white man and his companions living deep in the forest, fueling the belief that Fawcett might have survived. The obsession with Z did not die with Fawcett. In fact, it grew. Writers, filmmakers, and adventurers turned his story into legend. Some depicted him as a tragic hero, undone by his own ambition. Others saw him as a visionary, far ahead of his time, who recognized the potential of civilizations long ignored by mainstream history. Modern archaeology has uncovered evidence that supports part of Fawcett's dream. In recent decades, satellite imagery and ground research have revealed vast networks of ancient settlements, geometric earthworks, and roads hidden beneath the Amazon canopy. These findings suggest that the rainforest was once home to large, organized societies, far from the empty wilderness Europeans once imagined. While no single lost city of Z has been found, the truth may be even more astonishing. The Amazon was dotted with many such centers of culture. Yet Fawcett's personal fate remains unsolved. His compass, journals, or bones have never been recovered. The jungle keeps its secrets well. To this day, explorers and treasure hunters are drawn to the Mato Grosso, chasing whispers of Z and the ghost of Percy Fawcett. His story is both a tale of ambition and a warning. The Amazon is beautiful but merciless, and those who underestimate it rarely return. Still, Fawcett-ES legend endures because it touches something deep in the human spirit, the yearning to discover, to prove that mysteries remain in a world mapped by satellites and GPS. When the sun sets over the Amazon and shadows stretch across the endless canopy, some still imagine Fawcett out there, walking among forgotten ruins, having found the city he dreamed of. Perhaps he gazes at the stars through stone arches swallowed by vines, his obsession finally fulfilled. Or perhaps the jungle took him, body and soul, leaving behind only the legend of the lost city of Z. The Amazonian river dolphins, mystical shapeshifters. Among the tangled waterways of the Amazon, where the forest seems to breathe with life and mystery, glides a creature both real and wrapped in legend. The boto, or pink river dolphin. At first glance, it is an oddity of nature, a dolphin with a long snout, a flexible neck, and a soft pink hue that shimmers beneath the muddy waters. But to the people of the Amazon, the boto is far more than a peculiar animal. It is a being of enchantment, a shapeshifter that slips between two worlds, the river and the human. For centuries, indigenous communities along the Amazon have told tales of the boto's magical abilities. The most enduring legend claims that on moonlit nights, especially during the Festa Junina celebrations, the boto emerges from the water, shedding its dolphin form to become a handsome young man dressed in white. With a hat to cover the blowhole on his head, he mingles with villagers, dancing, drinking, and charming the hearts of women. By dawn, he vanishes, slipping back into the river, leaving behind only whispers and sometimes unexplained pregnancies. In many riverside towns, children born without a known father are jokingly said to be sons of the boto. The legend serves as both a cultural explanation for mysterious events and a reminder of the boto's enduring presence in the lives of those who depend on the river. But the boto is not always portrayed as a benevolent lover. In some versions, the dolphin man lures women away, never to be seen again. He is a trickster spirit, capable of leading the unwary into the depths of the river, where they vanish forever. This duality, protector and predator, mirrors the river itself, a source of life, but also danger. Beyond the myths, the boto is fascinating in reality. Unlike ocean dolphins, it navigates the winding, flooded forests of the Amazon. With its flexible neck, it can peer around submerged trees and stalk fish in narrow channels. Its pink coloration deepens when excited, as if blushing. Scientists marvel at its intelligence and adaptability, but even with all modern research, the boto seems to invite mystery. In the 20th century, the legends took a darker turn. Fishermen began to fear harming the dolphins, believing bad luck or even death would follow anyone who killed a boto. Bodies found drowned in the river were sometimes explained as victims of the dolphin's curse. Local shamans warned that the boto could cast spells or transform into humans to settle old grievances. There are even chilling tales of boto weddings beneath the water. In these stories, a human is seduced or tricked into joining the dolphin's realm, only to find themselves trapped in an underwater city of spirits, never allowed to return. Villagers would sometimes leave offerings by the river, tobacco, food, or small gifts, to appease the dolphins and keep their families safe. What makes the boto legend particularly enduring is its persistence in modern times. Even today, in rural parts of Brazil, some people hesitate to swim in certain stretches of river after dark. Parents warn their daughters not to go too close to the water during festivals, for the boto may be watching. Scientists argue that these stories, while fanciful, serve an important cultural role. They reflect respect for the river and its creatures, ensuring that communities do not overexploit the dolphins. After all, the boto is now considered endangered, threatened by dams, pollution, and human activity. By cloaking the animal in myth, the people of the Amazon have given it a form of spiritual protection. Yet the line between science and legend sometimes blurs. Fishermen have shared eerie accounts of dolphins swimming alongside their boats, seemingly watching with human-like intelligence. Others claim to have heard laughter on the river at night, only to glimpse the pink flash of a dolphin's back beneath the moonlight. One tale, often retold along the Rio Negro, tells of a young woman who vanished during a festival. She had been seen dancing with a tall, pale stranger in white. When dawn came, both were gone. Her family searched for weeks, but she was never found. Months later, she appeared again, pregnant and dazed, claiming she had been living beneath the river with the boto, who had promised to return for her child. Whether believed as truth or dismissed as folklore, such stories linger in the collective imagination. They transform the boto from a mere animal into a guardian of the unknown, a reminder that the Amazon holds secrets beyond human understanding. Perhaps, in some way, the boto really is a shapeshifter, not into a man in white, but into something larger, a living bridge between myth and reality, the natural and the supernatural. To see a pink river dolphin surface is to witness both a biological wonder and a cultural icon, one whose very existence is steeped in the magic of the rainforest. And so, the boto continues to glide silently through the rivers, carrying with it centuries of stories. For those who live along the Amazon, its presence is never just about biology or folklore. It is about mystery itself, swimming in the dark waters, waiting to remind us that the line between legend and life is thinner than we think. The forest spirits, guardians of the Amazon. Long before maps and modern exploration, the Amazon rainforest was home to countless spirits, invisible to most humans but present in every rustle of leaves, every bend of the river, and every shadow cast by the towering canopy. These were the forest spirits, guardians of the jungle, protectors of life, and arbiters of balance. The indigenous tribes spoke of them as beings who could take many forms. Sometimes they appeared as animals, jaguars with glowing eyes, macaws with feathers like fire, or snakes that whispered in human voices. Other times they manifested as humanoid figures, cloaked in leaves and moss, moving silently between the trees. To encounter a forest spirit was both a blessing and a test. Those who showed respect might receive guidance or protection. Those who disrespected the jungle risked anger, injury, or disappearance. One story tells of a young hunter named Tayari who ventured deep into the forest, eager to prove himself. He had been warned by the elders not to take more than he needed, not to disturb the spirits, and not to venture alone at night. But ambition clouded his judgment. He killed a jaguar, thinking the meat and pelt would earn him prestige. That night, as he slept beside his campfire, a shadow descended. A figure cloaked in leaves and vines appeared, its eyes glowing softly in the darkness. Tayari awoke in terror, but he could not move. The spirit spoke, not in words, but in a voice that resonated in his mind. Why do you take what is not yours? The following morning, Tayari's camp was empty. His weapon and supplies remained, but he was gone. Villagers later found him at the edge of the forest, disoriented, and whispering about voices guiding him through paths he had never seen. He had survived, but only because he had begged forgiveness and pledged respect to the spirits. Many believe these guardians serve a dual purpose, to protect the jungle and to teach humans humility. The Amazon is not merely a collection of trees, rivers, and animals. It is a living ecosystem, fragile and complex. The forest spirits enforce that balance, ensuring humans remember they are visitors, not masters. Stories of spirits are diverse across the region. Some spirits, known as Curupira, have backward feet and mischievous tendencies, luring hunters astray. Others, like the Encantados, emerge from rivers as dolphins or humans. There are spirits of ancient trees, of sacred waterfalls, and of mysterious mounds hidden beneath vines. Each spirit has its role, and each demands reverence. Modern encounters continue to be reported. Loggers claim to hear whispers at night, guiding them away from sacred areas. Scientists have recorded strange movements of animals, as if something unseen is watching. Travelers recount glimpses of glowing eyes between the branches, or sudden chills when the forest seems to shift unnaturally. Some dismiss these as fear and imagination, yet the tribes insist they are real, guardians ensuring the jungle survives. One particularly haunting tale tells of a group of explorers who became lost after ignoring tribal warnings. As days passed, food ran low and panic set in. Then, inexplicably, they were led by unknown hands along hidden paths to safety. No footprints, no traces, only the sense that the jungle itself had guided them. Locals believe this was the work of forest spirits, moving through the green like silent sentinels. The spirits are not bound by morality alone. They respond to intent. Greed, arrogance, and violence invite danger. Respect, gratitude, and care invite guidance. This principle has been embedded in the culture of Amazonian peoples for generations, ensuring the forest remains protected. Even today, as the modern world encroaches with roads, dams, and deforestation, the legend of the forest spirits endures. Conservationists see them as symbols of ecological guardianship, a reminder that the rainforest is alive in ways beyond human comprehension. Folklore and environmentalism intertwine, preserving both culture and the natural world. In the end, the forest spirits embody the Amazon itself, mysterious, ancient, and powerful. They are reminders that humans are not the only beings in the world, and that life, especially life as complex and intertwined as the rainforest, must be approached with reverence. So, when wandering through the dense green of the Amazon, pay attention to the rustle of leaves, the sudden silence of birds, and the whispers of the wind. Perhaps you will catch a glimpse of a spirit, a guardian ensuring that the jungle thrives, and that those who enter understand that this is a place of wonder, of danger, and of ancient, watchful eyes. The forest is alive, and its guardians never rest.